especially as we assess our lives, getting to the end of the year, or at a certain period in our lives, we look back, wonder whether we've made progress. And this week, we want to look at how to press on, how to move beyond the setback and the pain and the steps we need to take to attain to the high things that we want to attain to. And as usual, I have Pastor Albert Okran with me, and we would have our conversation.
Thank you, Doc. Doc, let's start with the immediate thing before the person listening to us today. How does the person end the year well so that can become a starting point for the next year ahead?
I don't know how to end the year well. I will give some thoughts. I think one of the best things you do getting to the end of the year is plan for the next one. We don't plan for the new year in the new year. You plan for the new year in the previous year so you can start the new year well. So the time we have, by the time you hit probably around October, middle of October, you should be locking down your year. By the end of November, the year's ended. Although we are ending the year, your eye, your vision, your planning should all be set towards the coming year. So the best way to end the year is to begin the new year at the end of the year and start thinking about how to live the next year.
Let's model two scenarios. A person who has done very well in the first part of the most part of the year, and then a person who has had challenges. Let's start with the person who has done extremely well. What should he do?
As you come to the end of the year, being successful is great, but being successful can also be very difficult because you have to beat yourself. You have to do better. And it's always easier coming from behind to do well than staying ahead and going forward. So for the person who's done well, the big challenge is, how do I beat myself? How do I do better than this, what I've done now? It may mean that in the next year, your focus should be, depending on how your success has been, to consolidate, to just hold on to what you have and not really think about doing more, but holding on. That by itself is a huge challenge. For some people, it may not be consolidation because consolidation would make you lose because there's so much competition in the field you are operating if you're a business. So then you are thinking of more growth. So depending on how your life has been, if it's been successful, it's either you're going to consolidate or you're going to grow more, or you're going to do variations of both.
Will there be a need for renewal as well?
Renewal.
Renewal.
Renewal, yes, I would place it within consolidation. It's just trying to stay where you are, be fresh, not stay where you are old, but stay where you are, your strength renewed, your vision renewed, doing things well, doing things better, but just literally staying where you are. Yes, there's room for that.
In the parable, Jesus spoke about a man whose fields had yielded abundantly, and Jesus called him a fool. Was his offense not wanting to do more after a big achievement? I know he denied God, but was there also an offense in not wanting to dream again after achieving?
The parables of Jesus have an immediate application and then an extended application. The extended application is always a bit fluid, but the immediate application is always precise.
Okay.
So the immediate application of it is the man is more material and not spiritual. He's not thinking about his soul. He's thinking about his soul should rejoice, build bands and so on. So Jesus says, but that's not, you don't let the material become the satisfaction for your soul. So that's the immediate, that's precise. But you can also look at the parable and derive other lessons from it. And that's where what you said comes in, where the person feels that what he's achieved is all there is to achieve. And basically, that's what Jesus is also saying, that what you've achieved, having great crops, is not all there is to achieve. There's a spiritual life you must aim for, and you are neglecting that. So no success is total, and no success covers everything. Sometimes people are successful in one area and defeated in an area. Even in a company, company can look at a year and say we've been profitable, but your profit may only have come from one product or from a department or from a certain activity or a certain policy that favored you, but it's not a general growth of the company. So you have to now start thinking, yes, we did well here, but let's not build a barn and put everything in this one basket. Let's now think of the other areas that we need to improve to make our lives, our company, our marriage, our church work for us.
So scripturally, you must, as it were, always be improving.
You have to, and you have to deepen the success. If you're a pastor, you'll find a year you've done well. And you've done well maybe because more people visited the church. You've done well because a lot of souls gave their lives to Christ. You've done well because you completed a building project. You've done well because your offering went high. There are always something that you use to say, I've done well. But that most of the time is limited to one or two areas. But the pastor then should start thinking, what about these areas and that area that I need to do well in? So although I'm happy with what I've done, I need to deepen my success. I need to extend the reach of the success.
Doc, from the years of experience, is it possible to have success and not understand what actually gave you the success? And what is the danger in that, in trying to replicate the success the next year?
It happens all the time. I mean, sometimes we chance upon something and we do it by mistake. You didn't do it because you intended to, but somehow you did it. But if somebody asks you, how did you do it? You don't know, but you did it. Sometimes it could be environmental because people generally, let's say people want a particular product and you happen to be selling it. And there's an appetite for it because people want that particular product. Of course, you're going to be successful, but it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the appetite, the demand of the public. So it could be atmospheric and may not be due to you. The question is, can you sustain that atmosphere? What can you do to make people continue desiring it? And that is a big challenge. I mean, depending on whatever you're doing, whether whether it's a marriage and the marriage is doing well because, this was a good year for whatever reason, but can those reasons repeat themselves? And I think for every one of us, we must find out why we succeeded at what we did. And it comes through thinking soberly. What did I do? What did I not do? Who made this happen? Because sometimes you may be the one who is credited with the success, but you didn't do it. That somebody else was the success factor for what has happened. So how do you then harness whoever did it? And will that person even be available to help you achieve the success? So there's so many moving parts in this.
Must we form a culture of asking ourselves very tough questions?
So I believe that, as Socrates said, unexamined life is not worth living. We have to live self-examined lives. We have to constantly put ourselves under a microscope, not in a depressive way where you're always feeling bad about yourself, but in a healthy way where you're always assessing what is happening inside of you, what is happening around you, what has happened to you, what you are responsible for, what you're not responsible for, and trying to determine the things you control, the things you don't control, and how all of that shapes the outcome of your life.
Beautiful questions, but also requires a lot of engagement. In Luke 14:28, Jesus talks about sitting down. What does it mean?
Well, I mean, he's talking about somebody who wants to build a tower.
Yes.
And it's very interesting that he didn't say whoever wants to build a farm, but he said a tower, because the image Jesus has in mind in talking about a tower has to do with a stronghold for battle.
Okay.
So there's a huge strategic import in that parable. He's talking about being stressed. Somebody wants to build, is going to war. He wants to build a tower to fight. And he has to build something that can stand against all the onslaught of the enemy. And he says that the person has to first sit. Sit means pause. Don't just have the dream and implement it. You have to take a step back. And then he has to plan whether the resources he has can help him to build his vision, or the resources can help build, but not as to what he's imagining. So if you have resources and it cannot build you a 10-foot tower, they don't try to build a 10-foot tower. You have enough resources to build a 5-foot tower. So build a 5-foot tower and think of how to use that advantageously. Otherwise, Jesus says you start building a 10-foot tower with 5-foot tower resources, and everything is sunk at the foundation, and people look at you and say, this is the guy who started building and couldn't complete. And the net effect is that now you have no defense, you have no protection, you are vulnerable, and the enemy can defeat you.
It requires a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking, yeah.
Let's look at the mercy of God. Lamentations talks about God's mercy. And in the light of somebody who doesn't have that big success you're talking about, it didn't go well for them this year, and they are trying to bounce back, and they are very keen. Let's look at the God's mercy as an enabler for the person trying to pick themselves up.
Well, from the passage in Lamentations, it says God's mercies are new every morning. In other words, God gives us a bright opportunity, bright hope for tomorrow. As the song, Great is Thy Faithfulness, states. So every day for the Christian, there's a bright hope for tomorrow. So when God gives us tomorrow, when God gives us a new day, we should seize the moment. And I think for every recovery effort, fundamental to it is honoring the opportunities you have, the opportunity of a new day, opportunity of time, opportunity of a new door. Don't belittle opportunity. Don't belittle mercy. Don't belittle new mercy. Because new opportunity may come in so many forms, and sometimes it doesn't solve our problem. So you can easily despise it. You know, it's like somebody who says, I need 100 cities. And then somebody comes and just says, oh, I was just thinking of you and I wanted to bless you. Take these 10 cities. Now, the 10 city, you didn't have it. It's a new mercy. But yes, in your heart, you wanted 100. So it's very easy for you to say, oh, look at it. We're talking about 100, you're talking about 10. Look at what should I do with 10? But 10 is a part of 100. 10 is part of the process. And if you don't appreciate the little opportunities, the new mercies, how are you going to build to solve the big 100 problem? So for everybody who is coming from a setback, having a deep sense of appreciation, for somebody who even says, God bless you, or somebody who meets you and says, it will be well. It doesn't solve your problem, but it's better for somebody to tell you it will be well than to say you are doomed. So New mercy is that opportunity that comes. It doesn't solve your problem, but it gives you a foothold. It gives you something to start with, and you must recognize it. It may be some new person in your life, a new job you have, doesn't pay all your bills, but it's a new mercy. And if we look at it that way, then we have a sense of gratitude for what we have as we work towards what we don't have.
It means that gratitude is a very big enabler for this season of our lives.
Gratitude affects our attitude, because gratitude helps you to maintain a positive outlook in a negative circumstance. Gratitude makes you look at something you don't have, but still appreciate what you have. Because you're going to use what you have to get what you don't have. So if you don't appreciate what you have, how are you going to get what you have?
Wow. Let's settle on Peter a bit. Great declaration as Caesarea Philippi following the Lord Jesus Christ. Then he feels he went so badly wrong. The turnaround, what can we learn from Peter about restoration?
The interesting thing is Peter didn't do much about his restoration. Jesus did much about Peter's restoration. Peter's words to his fellow apostles is, I go fishing. In other words, I'm done. This Jesus business, I'm done. I think I've messed up so much. I don't think the Lord will come looking for me. I don't think he has need for me again. So he is done. But the good thing for Peter, which we must learn from, is when Jesus reaches out to him, he grasps the opportunity. And how do I know that? When he is in the boat and somebody tells him, the guy who is at the shore, who just spoke to us, is the Lord. He jumps into the water because he grasps it. If Jesus will still come to me under this circumstance and still guide me, I'm not going to sit here for him to walk on the water to come to me. I'm going to swim towards him. And that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes the opportunity comes and we have to be aggressive about embracing it. Because sometimes I think people are very passive about life. They're too lackadaisical. They live, they don't have, life is bad on it, but they live as if they have excess. So somebody offers them a job. Oh, is this his job? Somebody gives them a little help. Oh, what I'm dealing with is bigger than this. But you have zero. You have zero. Somebody is giving you something better than zero, but we treat it as if it's rubbish. And that kind of attitude can be stinking sometimes. And people shun people who are like that. Pretty soon, nobody wants to help you. So part of recovery is learning to seize the opportunities thrown at you. It may not be the most glamorous opportunity, but appreciate it. Be grateful for it. Not just the opportunity, but the person who offers the opportunity. The person who makes it possible for you to have this chance. It's taking a risk on you. And you have to appreciate it. I've said it, that if you have the chance to work, and you work in a place where somebody pays you a salary every month, it may not be enough, but it's one of the most important things to have in life is to have a certain regularity of salary. I'm not saying it's big, but it's regular. When something is regular, you can plan with it.
It's predictable.
It's predictable. Predictability is so critical for life. So if I know that my needs are 100, my salary only gives me 20% of that, at least I know I don't have to hustle for all the 100. Now I have a predictable 20. What do I do for the rest of the journey? So something about my life has been sorted out for me. And now I have to work out sorting out others. But when you despise the 20, and sometimes people talk about the 20 so disparagingly, and you wonder, but you are zero, you have nothing. So being able to appreciate help, appreciate your place of work, the person who employed you as a shopkeeper, the person who employed you as a barber, the person who employed you as a tailor, the person who employed you to be an accountant, the person who ensures that every month, or the company that ensures that every month, as little as you say it is, you get it. You can't despise that person.
And that again takes a grateful.
It takes gratitude, and it takes humility and a sobriety of mind. You have to be sober-minded. Nobody's obliged to solve all your problems for you. Nobody's obliged to solve all my problems for me. But if somebody's helping me halfway, I have to be grateful.
Let me fast track to Peter on the day of Pentecost. From the small beginnings of grasping small mercies, Peter now stands and speaks, and 3,000 get saved. Will that be the progression of what happens when we, out of our adversity, grasp the small mercies that we get? Can that be the beginning point for something much bigger later?
Of course. Because he grasps what Jesus offers him. He's there on the day of Pentecost. Otherwise, he would not be in the upper room on the day of Pentecost. He would have missed that. The day the Holy Spirit came, he was there because he grasped the opportunity. And the Holy Spirit comes, empowers him, and then he discovers, I can do this job. I can preach. I can stand up, although there are mockers around, I can stand up. That same thing he received on the day of Pentecost, that takes him to the man at the beautiful gate, and he says, silver and gold have I none, but what I have in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. But he would have missed that if he had missed Pentecost, and he would have missed Pentecost if he had missed the day of his visitation when Jesus visited him at the beach the second time. So there is a progression of taking just this opportunity, and then the empowerment comes, and then I'm seeing results, and then great things are unfolding in my life. But it starts by accepting the first lifeline that begins to take you one step to the other.
Doc, in Philippians 3:13 and 14 that we studied a bit the last time, Paul spoke about forgetting the things that are behind, which we dealt with quite a bit. And then he talked about reaching forward to the things that are ahead. Then he talked about pressing. Will the pressing be this kind of attitude that you mentioned that involves really engaging things, not flippantly, but very intensely?
The word in the Greek that Paul uses for pressing is the same root for where we get the word pressure.
Wow.
It's almost like beating yourself. So when Paul says pressing, it's like squeezing yourself into something. It's like punishing yourself in order to achieve something, tormenting yourself to do something. So he's not talking about an easy approach. I'm pressing in gently. No, that's not it. He's talking about a certain violent effort you exert on yourself. And everything Paul is talking about is directed at him. It's not directing at people. It's not pressing people. It's pressing himself. And why do we need to? Because you have resistance. Life is resisting you. You have to pressurize yourself. If you want to study, you have to study. If you learn to work with a habit, you need to put discipline into it. Life, things don't just happen. Life is a product of discipline. So every recovery effort comes through intense self-pressure. The reason it's difficult is many times we do well when people put us under pressure. But when we are putting ourselves under pressure, we lose the pressure when the pain is hard. It's like when you have a sore and you have to dress the sore. If it is you, you put a thing and then you remove, you put a thing. But if a nurse, good old nurses are doing it, they have no compassion on what you are facing because they know it will do you good. So they put, I remember when we used to have sores as kids and they have to put iodine in it and your mother is putting iodine. I mean, it's you screaming, but they are putting it. But if you have to put iodine on your own sore, you are so merciful to yourself. And, many times we are so merciful to ourselves to our detriment.
So this pressure that you described, self-managed, self-discipline, how do we apply the same principle to somebody with a failed business, exam failure, delayed marriage, relationships gone bad, ministry disappointment? If this year has been tough and the person is determined to bounce back, how do they borrow from this principle of pressure, pressing towards the goal to turn their lives around?
For everything we've failed at, somebody has succeeded at. That's what we have to understand. So failure is not general. So two people are selling tomatoes. One person's business worked this year. The other person didn't work. Two people marry. They marry the same day. Marry the love of their lives. One is having a successful marriage. The other is going through difficult. For everything you are struggling with, somebody is solving it. Somebody is succeeding. So first of all, you have to know that failure most of the time is a result of a deficiency of something in you. Either a deficiency of understanding, there is a gap in your understanding. It may not be understanding, it may be the application, it may be attitude, but there is something you are not doing well enough. Especially if others are doing well, it's personal. So the pressure you are having to put on yourself is trying to think, look at my best friend. His marriage is doing well. Look at him. We started business, he's doing well. Look at them. What am I doing wrong? Apart from the fact that, except if the person is doing well superficially, or he's doing well because he's bending the rules, or he's doing well because he's deceptive. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody doing well. He's doing well. It's not pretense. It's not fake. It's real. So what didn't I do right? We don't like asking ourselves that question because it makes us feel lousy about ourselves. We don't want to think that somebody knows better than us, somebody is doing better than us, but that's really the truth. So being able to put that iodine on your sore, we don't like it. I don't like it. And I think people don't like it because you want to feel that, oh, don't forget this guy, he's just luck. But if it's luck, why didn't yours work? So it's a certain mental attitude to say, I'm not going to look for easy answers. I think there's something I don't understand. I think there's something I'm not doing right. I think there's something I haven't grasped yet. And sometimes it may be sitting with somebody to mentor you, attending a seminar, befriending somebody who is successful at what you're doing, because you want to bridge the knowledge gap between you and getting it done. You want to bridge the attitudinal gap. Because sometimes when you're with people, you see their attitudes. When they wake up, what they do, how many minutes they spend on the phone. You just watch them and you realize, oh, wow, they do it differently from me. So you're trying to bridge that gap to see what you are not doing right, that others are doing right, to achieve the right results.
That was the role of fellowship, Christian fellowship, hanging around the right people as you try to learn from good models? What's the role of?
I think it's a very important part. I mean, we all know it. The friends you keep, the things you listen to. These days there's so much to learn. I mean, there are podcasts that teach expertise in anything. In fact, even without going to a university, you can learn the equivalent of a university degree for free. But you need a discipline to say, I'm going to watch this podcast 2 hours every day. I'm going to sacrifice time and talk to an expert in this field to mentor me in this area. I'm going to pay a little money to attend this training program. All of that is putting pressure on yourself and closing the gap between what you don't know and what you need to know.
The knowledge gap, the attitudinal gap, and I guess the action gap as well.
Yes.
When all is said and done, it's the action.
It's the action. It's how to execute. Some people know everything, have the right attitude, but always postpone action. Action is the last step of the way, isn't it? I mean, that's what commits you. And sometimes, it's like a man who meets a woman, says, I love her, and I love her, but he never proposes. So because it's scary. The action part is always scary. It's when the doing takes place. And sometimes thinking through is comfortable. Even going through the motions is comfortable until you have to now take the action. And the action gap can be so wide between what is in your head and what you're actually doing.
Doc, as we wrap up today, something you said has caught my attention very strongly about Peter and literally grasping the moment. And then you progress it to Paul and saying, beyond grasping the moment, put some pressure on yourself. If you could wrap up by speaking to somebody, reflecting on how the year should end, about how these two could be the turning point in their lives.
Well, if you're ending the year and you feel you could have done better, not that you didn't do well, but you could have done better, and then you need to spend time looking at the gaps. What are the gaps? What didn't I do well enough? Maybe you started January well, by March, you threw away a plan. What should you have done more? Think of the gaps. Think of the actions you need to take. Now, all of that is going to demand exerting pressure. And the reason is most of our failures in life are habitual. And when I say habitual, it means it's based on something, who you are and how you do things. So if you want to change that, then extra pressure has to come upon you. That means you have to commit yourself to a discipline you are not used to. And sometimes you do that by letting yourself be accountable to people or becoming part of a group that requires discipline, so that in that discipline, you can build new habits, new lifestyle, and new expectations. But changing the outcome of our life doesn't come by chance. It's not by luck. It comes by effort. And you are able to put in that effort because you have what it takes to move from where you are to where God wants you to be. And I trust that next year, when you look at your report card, you would have said, I've done better, but I want to do far more than what I have done. That should always be our story. I did well this year, but I want to do better than this year. And I hope that will be your story too. Let's keep talking, and we'll catch you again.